A very good afternoon to all of you. This is going to be the topic today, our third session on assessment centers. Okay. So before we get down to what is assessment, why assessment, and the entire framework of assessment, let us try and connect what we did in the last few sessions with our topic for today. In fact, what is the relevance of assessment centers? How are they going to impact? Let us connect from the previous sessions to today's session. Okay. So having said that competencies are very important for organizations, we also spoke about why competencies are important for organizations, because they're going to raise the bar of performance, right? Very clear. No, if you have a competency, then the person is going to, actually there is some predictability in terms of performance. And every organization exists because it wants to perform. And in order to achieve business goals, you really need to have the right people with the right competencies. That's what we learned in the last two sessions, saying that every organization at a role level, functional level, at an organization level, you need to have those specific job specific, functional specific, and core competencies in order to perform. Okay. Now say, so we have mapped the competencies across the organization for our all roles, for our functions, and for our for our core competencies as well. Now, having said that, now what do organizations do? Now, how do I know that people are having the competencies, right? How do I know that people are having the competencies? So far we were talking about what? Not people. We were talking about roles. We were talking about functions. We were talking about across the organization. What are those foundational competencies, or what are those bedrock competencies which create culture? Now we are going to check. We're going to evaluate. Hey, do we have those competencies? Because if we do this assessment, evaluation, then what will happen? Please tell me, all of you are seasoned. So when we evaluate, what comes out of it then? A, this is what we want to have, competencies. Okay. Then B, so we are going to evaluate through our assessment centers. Then what is the outcome?
So outcome would be like where the people fall as the desirable competencies. What are the gap areas? Do they have the potential to take care of the high responsibilities? As well as we can do it as a development center where we can plan their development, individual development plans for.
So to
further
anybody else, Parul? Igniting the minds, huh?
Yeah. Yes, assessment centers help us in actually carrying out the measurement part by observing, and the competency is demonstrated in that stipulated time period. So that's a very effective measurement tool used by experts.
Absolutely right. Very close. So in order to emphasize today's, what will be the impact for organizations when you know that this is the desired level of capabilities I need, right? By competencies, what do I get? Desired level of behaviors, which will predict higher performance. Now, to assessment center, I know that do people have this desired level of competencies? A, so I evaluate doing an assessment center when I want to recruit so that I can get the right kind of people, as Vinita said. Or if existing people, I can do a developmental center and say, hey, are there gaps in terms of what is required vis-a-vis what does the person have? So that then I can create a training plan, a developmental plan, a learning plan, and then of course the detailing. So what happens? It gives an organization has a good understanding of what kind of people I should take, and also what kind of people do I have, so that I can actually improve them. Or even if I want to promote, or even if I want to do some career progression, what are those kind of right competencies they should be having, right behaviors? Earlier on, I'm sitting here as a, a recruitment manager, head of talent acquisition. I can actually make out a person, by the way he walks, I can actually make out whether he's good. I can recruit him, right? Or my gut feeling says that he's a great guy. After 3 months, what happens, Prashant? After 3 months, the guy may perform, may not perform. So what is happening? It reduces your what I actually
Effectiveness.
say is, all those
Quality of
biases.
hire.
It reduces your
Probability of
hire.
failure.
It reduces your percentage of failure. It increases the bar of predictability in terms of at least 90%, 98%. Okay, if not 100%. So therefore, if you do this, what is the impact then? Cost. Timelines. You don't have to recruit a bad hire and then say after 3 months, 6 months, start the process again. Agreed? Huh? You are also getting a ROI because you are hiring better people and you are able to get your performance. So you are paying him payroll, what is it, month on month salary, and you are getting your ROI. So therefore, organizations have taken cognizance of this and said, hey, if you recall in public sectors, I told you, I think last time, February or January, then they will say, sit on the budget and they'll say training budget. We have to finish the budget, consume the budget. So they will start, sending people for various training programs, irrespective of whether they are required by that person or not. They're just trying to finish their budget, trying to finish the number of training days, the number of just to maintain those metrics. But essentially, there is no correlation between training and the performance levels of organization. So in order to reduce this, but today, can you afford in private organizations such kind of activities? You can't. Why? Because huge, the market dynamics, huge competition. And you have to deliver at what cost optimization, best quality, and within a very short period of time. So to survive, it's very important to have the right kind of people with the right kind of competencies. So assessment centers help you to do that. I'm trying to build the. So what is an assessment center? Anybody has an idea? So today we are going to do the entire thing about assessment centers, everything. Okay. So what is an assessment center? Anybody? Assessment center. Is it a physical place? Is it a center where we are having, it is essentially an event. It is essentially an event where you are evaluating what? Certain behaviors required for that job by using multiple inputs, multiple exercises. When you are recruiting, say, for example, a customer care executive through an interview exercise, okay? What do? You are using only interview to ensure that you are taking a best quality hair by asking him questions, by asking him hypothetical questions, etc. But here, your predictability of the quality of hire is going up because, please make a note, it is an evaluation, but you are using multiple inputs, various kind of tools and techniques and exercises, so that to ensure that he is able to perform under those conditions of the job, right? So what does it do? What is an assessment center? It consists of a standardized who come for that particular jobs interview or whatever, using the same techniques. Your format, your requirement doesn't change. You are not comparing Prashant with Vinita or Prashant with Parul. You are comparing it with that requirement standard. Got it? But in an interview, what happens? I will call 10 people and start comparing each other. I'm not actually looking at what is required. I get lost like a rabbit hole. Right?
Yes, stack ranking is not done.
So first of all, I'm going to compare it with that and then see who is the best person. So it uses a variety of testing techniques, and then you have a variety of constructs. That means what? Behavioral indicators. Then you are also allowing a person, the candidate, to demonstrate those skills and abilities in various, in an interview. It's only one exercise where you are asking questions and he has to. But in an assessment center, there are various exercises where he is able to demonstrate better and under standard conditions. Little more. So how does it work typically? Again, standardized evaluation of behavior based on, when I say multiple inputs, there are multiple exercises. Who evaluates them or who observes them? They are called assessors. They're trained observers. Okay. Not anybody can just go and sit there and say, yes, Vinita, no, I can't observe. I have to be a trained observer. Okay. And there is a particular training, we'll talk about it. And then what happens? All the assessors, it is not an individual judgment of whether it is Vinita or Sneh or Prashant. It is, what they pull in everything, all the observations, and it is a consensus. It is not weighted. Then they thrash out and then they take a judgment on it. Then the discussions are all evaluation based on performance, observed performance, not just something, on judgment or I feel or I think. Quickly, a little bit about the assessment center's history. Well, it was always there, even in World War II, when they had to actually recruit spies. The Germans actually, then they looked at of personality traits which had correlation with trying to become very good spies. And then they said, hey, we have to interview ensuring that these personality traits are there. Then AT&T really worked in a big way with Dr. Douglas Bray, and they were the ones who first started this assessment center. And today you actually go to the Google also, you have something called the International Congress on Assessment Methods. It is globally well known, and it is a very well-known technique which most of the good organizations follow. Both they may outsource it or they will have an internal assessment center as a center of excellence, which is probably sometimes it is with the performance management COE. COE is called Center of Excellence. Okay. Now, having said that, every time we want to understand, I want to put things very, very clearly for you all. No rocket science. So when we talk about assessment center, it's a tool technique we want to use, right? So we have to understand, hey, typically what are the features of this? Okay. So what are the features essentially? In this, we are actually looking at what relevant behaviors. Where do these relevant behaviors come? Quick. Top of the mind question.
Psychometric test.
No.
Critical
They
incident.
come from the bars.
Oh,
The bars
yes.
come from where? Competencies. And the
Competencies,
competencies come
yes.
from where? Job analysis of your job description. Got it?
Yes.
You have to think like that. Huh? Work back. Okay. So then to evaluate these behaviors, you are looking at what? You are looking at measurement techniques. Then you have multiple measurement techniques. Okay. And then you are also looking at assessors observing your behaviors. Then we'll talk about that. What is a dimension? So how do you observe that dimension? So these are some of the features. All right.
Ma'am, I thought it used to be a physical setup for the army, especially assessment centers.
Absolutely. In fact, Army is a best example of an assessment center. They have this, especially in the selection board, what we call.
Yes, the selection board.
There, it's a very good example of giving this assessment center physical test, mental test, stress test, because army, what does army need? So they go through a lot of that. But today, I also wanted to give you, you have assessment center, but most of the organizations today, if you talk about after the COVID, have evolved into what we are doing, virtual assessment centers.
Okay.
So why? It's a win-win solution. Why? A physical assessment center is very expensive. You have to fly in the assessors. You have to also fly in these people at a different place. So you have to pull them out. Today, with a virtual assessment center and a developmental center, you can take a test at any place, anywhere, anytime. Like what Amazon says, no, I deliver product anywhere, anytime, anything. Huh? So this is becoming very, very convenient, virtual assessment centers. And
I would
most of the organizations are using this, correct?
basically, ma'am, I've been through one of the staff selection exams of the army when I was young, of course, 12th passed,
Yeah.
NDA exam, as we called it.
Right.
So in
Right.
that case, they used to check for leadership skills by giving some, a space which was
Right.
marked with red bricks or green bricks or yellow bricks, and they
Right.
would say red is the mine, you don't have to, and you have to take the entire team from one side to another side, and don't touch the rope and all. And so those bring out the trait, how many people accept you as a leader, how do you solve the problem, how do you take everyone together, those
Absolutely.
things.
Leaderless groups. See, I come from an army background. My father was in the army. My brother retired as an army officer. So I know how things have been all my life living,
Yes.
in the
Yeah,
army
so
environment. And
it was a very extensive experience. I would say still
Absolutely.
with me every 4-day assessments, free of cost, living and fooding. It was excellent. I would still remember it. It's left a mark on my psychology that this is the way we should lead
Absolutely.
people.
In
And
fact, yeah.
just
In fact,
wondering,
you go
how
to
do
this.
we do it in a virtual situation? How do you create that scenario of and test on a person's leadership or problem solving, decision making, acceptance by the team as a leader? How do you do that in a short span of a virtual session if there's no physical setup?
So now you're talking about two different things. So when you're talking about army needs different. So you cannot have a virtual assessment center there, right? So obviously it has to be physical. So anything which requires, a physical test, a physical all such things, because there you need strength, etc. If you know para commandos, oh my God. So therefore, so here in a product or a service organization where we are talking about all these things in terms of other competencies, which, like for example, a leaderless group discussion, you can do it virtually, all right? For example, a decision making, you can give a case study. For example, a presentation, you can do that. So there are a lot of things which we can do. But for example, I'll just give you creativity and innovation. So when we ran assessment centers for IOC at a middle and a top level, so we did it physically, giving pins and straws and creating, some of those towers, etc. But today, maybe virtually, you will give something else. So you can adapt.
Excellent, ma'am. I got
It's a
my answer.
question. You can adapt a lot of things, right? Yeah. Necessity is the mother of invention. So after COVID, I think HR has become really digitized. Huh? Okay, so these are some of the exercises, and in fact, today you would be practically be doing some of the things so that you can feel and also have a flair for these exercises. Self-assessment. What are the various things you can do as a part of self-assessment? Anybody?
We can write
If you
about our
recall,
own.
if you recall, in organizations, they give you also a format. What are your strengths? What are your weakness? What have you done? It's an assessment of talking about yourself. It's a good way to start. What do you think of yourself? What is your role? What's your responsibility, etc. Okay. So that could be a starting step sometimes.
Kind of
Interview simulation. Yeah.
Pyrobi kind of a psychometric
No,
questionnaire?
no. Psychometrics. So you have psychometrics also.
Pyrob is
You
about
can do an
myself.
MBTI. You can do a Fire OB. You can do a 16 PF, right? But they are only supporting documents to validate. But they are never taken as an individual test results saying that this is what you are. Okay. You have to psychometric test, not everybody, you just take them. No, you can't say you are this. You have to have some other data to correlate with it. I'll
Yes.
tell you why exactly then psychometric is done and how do you correlate that. Interview simulation, you are giving certain kind of tasks and then you are talking about them. In basket exercises, what is an in basket exercise? Or in tray? What do you
Yeah.
test? What kind of competencies are you testing in basket exercises?
More of a
Time
decision
management.
making, or like how you take the situation and how you assess the problem and how you react on that particular
Anybody?
situation.
Ma'am, it would be time management and prioritization.
Absolutely, you are right. Right. It is more importantly, let me tell you what happens. Say, for example, you have come in, you have a set of emails to be done. Within a time, how are you going to manage time? Okay. So planning and organizing, time management, prioritization, and if you are a manager, what will you delegate? What will you actually do? Because at the end of the day, you want to finish. Accountability is yours. But there will be many responsibilities. So are you going to do everything, carrying all the monkeys on your shoulders, or will you delegate and ensure that it is done? Okay. Group exercises. You know that there can be many group exercises to test for. One is team exercises to see how people are. You could actually look at what is that team coordination, or for example, today collaboration. How do they collaborate? So you can give a case study or you can do an exercise. What is leaderless group discussions? Do you recall in our time, every time, most of the business management institutes had something called a
Yes.
group discussion. Okay. And
Yes.
then 10 people would be there in a group or 8 people. And then this is the group, the topic. And you are supposed to, everybody will shout out their lungs. No, they will just not listen. They will, because they would think that only the person who will shout louder, who is heard louder, but then, but the norms are different, right? What are they looking at? Hey, how are you influencing? What are
Yes.
some of the competencies in this? Who is actually, how is he able to bring all the team together? Huh? So these are some of the things who you can clearly see in a leaderless group discussion. Like he was mentioning about in army, all 10 people are put and they'll say, okay, you have to reach that. So, some milestone. So how are the guys? Does somebody evolve as a leader then? So these are
Yeah.
some of them. Then there are business games today, marketing, finance, etc. Case study. What kind of competences can you evaluate in case study?
Problem solving or decision making.
Yes, problem solving, decision making, business acumen, planning and organizing, lot of things. Okay, presentations and report writing, typically focusing on communications, right? And also ability to comprehend, preciseness, etc. Then social events. Do you think social event is also an exercise?
Networking skills.
Let me tell you,
Collaboration.
especially in the tasks, what happens? They check for your social skills. They will actually say, hey, we are inviting you all for a kind of, gathering where they're watching how are the people, talking to people, how are they having. So social events also tell a lot about your body language, rapport, ability to, get along with people, everything. Knowledge and skill tests, talent measures, culture fit and value inventories. You can have actually psychometric tests to do that. Culture fit and value inventory. Psychometrics, we'll talk about it. Role play exercises, very popular. And I'm sure everybody has heard of it. Best exercise, and we will be doing that. integrity test, physical ability test again, if necessary. Are they
Ma'am?
necessary for everybody or only for few?
Uh, for certain
Few
jobs
jobs.
which
Do you
require
think a person
physical.
who is into IPS will require a physical ability test?
Yeah, I mean,
Obviously, police,
manufacturing
Yeah.
or
Yes.
real estate also
or
sometimes.
somewhere, you in a manufacturing organization, sometimes if the job requires you to lift something, let me tell you, in USA, they do physical ability tests also. Okay. And 360-degree feedback. What is this 360-degree feedback?
Even our peers, along with our peers and seniors, the juniors and colleagues also have even cross-functional people departments from can also give a feedback about me. How
On
So
very
defined
specific.
typically,
competencies.
it is also called multi-rater feedback also. Huh? What does it mean? That all your stakeholders who we call that as a role set. It could be external, it could be internal, your boss, your subordinate, your peer groups, right? So typically 360-degree feedback is taken not as evaluating something, more for the purpose of development. So you get the feedback so that, and of course it is kept anonymous, huh? And not that somebody, let's say for Prashant, I want to get, if I'm not interacting with him, he's not my stakeholder, then he wouldn't know much about it. So when you're involving a 360-degree feedback, then it is very, very important that you get feedback from those people who are recipient of their role incumbents services, right? Only he will have some kind of a knowledge about it, not somebody who doesn't even interact, right? If I'm going to get feedback from somebody who is not a recipient of services, how does it matter? Okay. It will be more from a gut feeling. Oh, I think he's like that. But we are not actually looking at gut feeling, right?
Ma'am, could you explain talent measures through an example?
Yeah. So talent measures, depending on what kind of talent are you wanting to measure, all right? So it could be business acumen, it could be in terms of your technical know-how. So it doesn't mean that in an assessment center, you are only measuring just behavioral competences. You are also evaluating technical competences. For example, a case study. I give it to a finance manager. Is it important if I'm going to recruit a finance manager that I'm going to give a case study? I might give a long lot of data, a financial analysis, etc. Right? So depending on what kind of talent you want to measure. Okay. So, but measures could be different forms depending on the context. Okay.
Is it about
For
potential?
example, I'm looking at, we'll take the lowest job, campus recruiter. Say, for example, I want to do a talent measure. What kind of a talent measure will I do for a campus recruiter? What kind of key competencies do you think will be required for a campus recruiter? I could give a case study with reference to what kind of a good understanding one has in terms of the industry, right? That's one. Or, for example, in campus recruiter, you need volume hiring. You need to test knowledge, skills, etc. So, in terms of what kind of an understanding this person has in terms of, we go to various colleges. So, what kind of knowledge are we going to test?
So, ma'am, can we say that the talent measure is specifically about technical skill sets measurement, and the rest of
No,
the
I will say it
points are
encompasses
behavioral?
everything.
Okay.
Talent is
And how is
talent.
it
I will
different from
say
the other points written, like case study you've already written, knowledge
talent
and
is
skill set?
everything. Will you say just technical talent?
Acha.
It encompasses everything,
Or is it
talent,
about
right?
potential measurement, not just
So,
performance?
so when you are looking at potential and also present, that is incorporated in the competencies. So if I'm saying for developmental purposes, then I will say, hey, what is the kind of a potential this person has so that I can promote him or I can develop him? And then first time managers. I want to promote people from a shop floor level to first time managers. So I will look at some kind of a talent measures where do you think there is scope for improvement in terms of can I make him, can he manage people? Does he have leadership abilities? So it encompasses everything. Talent measure is a broad term given, okay, not specific.
And ma'am, based on your experience, if you can share what is the ideal combination of using these 16, 17, out of these 16, 17 exercises, what
I'm
is the
coming
right?
to that. I'm coming to that. So, okay, I will answer this question. Assessment center is not that, I will take out a laundry list of all exercises. As an assessment center person, if you have to design, we're coming to the design part of it. Why am I showing you? You have to have an understanding and a list of all the exercises you want to use. But ultimately, if I'm going to recruit a recruitment manager, I'll show you the design. Then what kind of competencies are required? And what is that I'm going to evaluate? So based on that dimension, I will pick out the exercises. Are you with me? I'm not going to pick out something
Yes,
physical
ma'am. So
ability
basically,
test.
it has to be customized as per what we are going to
It has to
focus.
correlate with what are you going to
So the
assess. So if I'm going to take a physical test from this, okay, and say, hey, I'm going to use a physical test. No, but for what? What are you going to evaluate? Are you with me, Parul? So I'm going to show you that
Yes,
how I'm
sure.
going to choose. If I'm having a boutique of tests, how am I going to choose which test to use for what competency? Got it? Okay. This I've already gone through. So, okay. What is the difference between assessment center and a development center? Have you any idea? Anybody?
So assessment center is just only to assess and take a decision based on that. But for the development center, so that means we are going to use it for the development of for that individual. So
Okay.
there would be.
Okay. So very interesting. The goals are different. Assessment goal is to select, okay, to recruit a better person. So the goal is different. Assessment center, I'm here using a method to what? Hire a person or select a person. Mainly it is for selection. But development center, the goal is different. It is for development. So assessment is for external, development is for internal. But having said that, what is the commonality? I'm using
So
my
the
test
techniques would be the same.
techniques will be the same, but the purpose will be different. It's like, I may use a car, I may use walking, but I may be going another. My goals are different.
Ma'am, I think both can be combined together when we do succession planning. If I need to identify backups for critical roles and I do an assessment, what is the skill gap between the requirement and the current status, then we will put them in development center. So the outcome of assessment center becomes the starting point for development center.
Yeah.
And then
So,
the
but
outcome of development center.
see, so what you said, primarily assessment centers for selecting, but what you do is evaluation. But even a development center, you have to evaluate. But I'm not using the term assessment center as such. Okay. So I'm still using the same techniques and exercises to evaluate so that I know if I'm doing a career progression, what kind of a training I need to have so to find out the gap. If I'm doing a succession planning, I want to find out who is the right person, who has the potential. I'll use the same techniques, right? But it is for a internal, external. Goals are a little different. Yeah.
So in
I will
case if
send
you
the-
want to do
Yeah.
succession
Hmm.
planning, what is ideally
Yeah.
used? Development centers or assessment centers?
Pardon, who's talking about it? Yeah. Who said that? Snakes?
Say, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm saying in case
Huh.
if we plan like succession planning for the organization for
Right.
mid-level and higher level.
Right.
So what is ideally used? Development centers or assessment centers?
No, then we will be using, if you are saying that I want to actually find out who is the person who can best succeed for a particular position, then I will do an assessment center where I'm wanting to assess people and then ensure that this is the person who will go or who will become the successor. And if there are any slight gaps, I'm going to promote. So you need a threshold for that, threshold differentiating. So you use an assessment center and then use it as a development, because you don't want to, it's not plug, plug and play. So you still need to give some kind of a training before you put him onto that position.
So you'll have
Okay,
to do
so
both.
we still call it as a development center. So the typical differences here are, as I said, the focus is different. It is typically used for selection, and here it is for development. The feedback is not given when you're doing an assessment center because you are selecting. So there's no formal report being given to a person who comes for an assessment center for selection. But whereas in a developmental center, you give him a report. What are those gaps? What kind of a training he needs to get it? So you give him a good feedback in terms of report. You will do coaching, counseling, etc. So the outcome of an assessment center is typically decision making in terms of selection. But the outcome of a development center is surely a developmental plan or a recommendation report. Okay. Which is also used for growth purposes, career progression purposes, etc. Okay, so these are those, if you can see, starking differences in terms of feedback, in terms of ownership, in terms of expected results, and also in terms of phase or stage. Any clarification here, guys? Let me start with it. How do we go about designing an assessment center? Okay, I'm sure everybody would go back and then say, if you were given this job of designing an assessment center. So if you have heard all this, what would be a starting point?
It would
What
be
will you require?
competencies derived from, again, the job JD.
Let us take it could be an assessment center or even a developmental center. So typically you need, for what positions, right? So then you will need to do job analysis to understand the competencies required, because definitely you will need the competencies along with their bars, that is behaviorally anchored dating scale, to do an assessment center. So that's the most important thing. The job analysis and the competency design part of it help you with that. Thereafter, what will you do? Then you will design what I call it as an assessment matrix. What is that assessment matrix? I'll just show you in a minute. This is called the assessment matrix. So once you have the positions firmed up, that this is the position I want to, and I'm actually, say, for example, you are doing a volume hiring, all right, for customer care executives. So you will decide on what are the kind of competencies required. So in order to assess these competencies, what kind of tests will I use? So this is called typically an assessment matrix, where what are the tests, what are the competencies I want to assess? Communication, team working, building relationships, customer focus. For example, creative and analytical thinking, commercial and market awareness, achieving results, planning and organizing. So these are the list of competencies. From where did I get these competencies? From the target job. I'm doing a volume hiring, say, for example, customer care executives. So the customer care executives require these competencies. So I'm running an assessment center. I've done the first and the second level of screening selection, saying that I've just done screening and then I've done a telephonic interview. Now I want to invite all these people and put them through an assessment center, because I want the best people or the best quality to ensure that they have these competencies, and I have predictive validity on them. That means I'm able to predict that, yes, after having hired them, their performance definitely is much higher. Next, what will I do? Then I have to choose what? I have to choose what kind of exercises, what kind of tools or techniques will I use, which will then evaluate these competencies. So here, what kind of, this is just an example, what kind of tools am I using? Say maybe ability tests or a personality questionnaires, group exercises, analysis presentations, interviews. So I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exercises. Now, when you design an assessment center matrix, which essentially means you are trying to find out what kind of exercises do I use to evaluate my competencies, you should use them in such a way that every exercise you use, at least it evaluates, if not two, more than that. Why? Because assessment center is a lot of time taking process. So you cannot just use one exercise only for one competency. It should at least evaluate two competencies. All right. So having said that, we will do this exercise because I will be giving that exercise to you. So this is what it is, assessment matrix. Then once you do that, then you will actually do the entire exercise of what? Then looking at the bars, that is behaviorally anchored rating scales. So when I talked about bars, you have to have a rating scale, right? You have to then have a rating scale of, because what will the assessors observe? So what is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? So here for marginal, so this is the levels, okay? And what is the description? 1 means it is none, little more, half the what it shows. So it keeps increasing. All right. So here, what do you do then? You have to actually capture the evidence. That means what has the person said, done. So that is called, what is it? So when you observe, what are you going to observe? Quick. Let's ask Sneh. Sneh, when you observe, what are you going to observe? For example, no, I have given this exercise, okay? Huh? Say, for example, group exercise, right? Huh? Then I also have a rating scale. Okay. Huh. So what am I going to observe?
That particular competency or behavior part.
So I'm going to observe behavior. Behavior. So I have to understand what is this behavior means, right? If I as an assessor doesn't understand what I need to observe, so what does it mean?
So then it's useless. I don't know.
Behavior is not judgment. Oh, he is this. No, it is not feeling. It is not opinion. All right. I cannot infer there. Infer means, oh, he must be this. He must be, a good decision maker. No, but what did you observe? What did he do? That is what I have to capture and write there. Not what you felt, not what you inferred, or not your opinion, or not just a vague generalization. So the assessors actually have to capture here the evidence, the behavior. That's very, very important. So when you want to capture that, we talk about something called, what is that? ORS. Assessor has to do this, and we typically say ORS training, ORCE. What is ORCE? So when we say ORS,
Observation recording.
assessor
God,
that
class. Okay.
observed, then you record it, then you classify that behavior, then you evaluate. You don't evaluate first and come to a judgment. You first of all have to observe that behavior, you have to record that, you have to classify it, and then say. So that means you're capturing the verbs, what the person has done, said. Even if the person is sitting quiet, you have to watch the body language. Even sitting quiet is also is a behavior, right? So that's some evidence. Okay. So these are the things which we need to. Why am I emphasizing on this? Because when you're going to do a role play, you are actually going to do all this watch and have center exercise. Okay, so you are asking me, Parul, how do I know which exercise for what? So you have, before you actually look at the basket of exercises, you need to look at what are those competencies I need to evaluate. Then carefully select each and every exercise which will evaluate what competency. Okay, that's what it is. Then typically when you're doing this observation, etc., then say, for example, I'm looking at communication and influencing. Okay. I need the assessor has or the observer has to have, which goes, not has to have. There is a, what is it? You give him actually a definition of what it means so that all the assessors or the observers are on the same page. So the assessor has to have a clear understanding. What does communication influencing mean? Speaks clearly, fluently, with conviction, uses own persuasive style to successfully encourage others to strive towards the group objective, influencing others to gain acceptance, all this. Okay. Now, having said this, then what will I write? The negative behaviors, the positive behaviors. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 being the lowest or the poor and 5 being the highest. Then what will I do? I'll start picking, observe and then stick, saying, is this person showing negative behavior? Is this person showing positive behavior? I'll start. Then based on the description, I will circle on or tick whichever is the appropriate one. Got it? This is how it is done. So typically when you do this, then you also get a report.
Ma'am,
is that
in
report?
the
Yeah.
rating, the assessor doesn't have to write what has been observed.
Yeah, here I showed you one. So you create, where is that?
So you said
I just showed.
the assessor has to circle the rating.
Yeah. Evidence
Right.
is also important. Now, when you gather back again without evidence, how did you circle it?
Okay, so the evidence has to be written also.
Yeah. So evidence
Okay.
has to be written, and typically what happens to make it very, very convenient in some organizations, some assessment centers, even the evidence is rated, showing descriptive, so that I don't have the pain of taking and writing the evidence. It is there given very, very clearly. What is that? Yeah. Evidence is also given sometimes. Okay.
So
For example,
basically, assessment centers,
evidence,
no
evidence,
matter
yeah.
which, we do tie up, say, with Aon Hewitt or anybody, Thomas.
Huh.
So they
Huh.
only have those this format's ready, right? I mean, they have their internal assessors also, right, to do it.
So if you are talking about a very big, all these big PwC or Hewitt or a Hay, they do have frameworks. But having said that, they have all these, what is it, bars, etc. written, but they have to customize it. So obviously they will do a lot of interviewing process, talk to the high performers, and that's how they will customize the behavioral indicators, which are definitely contextual. So there is nothing like a cut paste method. You can't have what is good for you, what is a positive behavior at a 4 could be different for an organization. So they have to customize it. But definitely you have to do that pre-work of customization, bringing everything together before you start. Because otherwise there's a huge load for the assessors. Because you can't just observe and keep writing and then rating it as well. So everything will be the pre-work. You will do all this much before. So, yes, all the big organizations have some kind of a framework, but they need to customize it. Okay. They might be having definitions, they have some kind of indicators, but what is very, very important is definitely you have to talk to the role incumbent, make it very contextual, and then create these bars. And this is the most important thing in an assessment center, getting the right kind of behaviors which are required. Because if you get this wrong, then your entire assessment center actually, you
So
are
your
evaluating.
partnership with these firms make a lot of difference, right? Like, if you're really able to partner it well and they understand what really is required within the company.
Yeah, standards, because what's very, very important is what standards are required. Because if your standard is low or if you have not captured the right one, then you are evaluating for a different set of things, right?
True, true.
So if my standards, so standards are very important. That is why competency mapping is very important before even you do an assessment center.
So normally what happens, a lot of companies also say that, somebody who's experienced in, designing the whole assessment center Like, internally in-house, they want to do it. So do you
Ah.
think it's possible doing it in-house without the support of the consultants, the assessment center?
Well, it's possible because, in fact, what we did in TBS is we definitely hired one or two people who are very good, who had a good understanding. But we had a in-house center of excellence, wherein when we were hiring, see, assessment center may not be used for across all levels, for across all positions. So what we did was, in particular, we used for certain clients who were high bent on having the best kind of people. Say, for example, we were recruiting customer care executive for a particular business. It was, what is it? I forget that now, Um, it was very big IT company. And so they had actually given, hey, these are the 4 or 5 competencies we need to have in our customer care executives. So we created around those competencies, all this assessment center. So when we say assessment center, then we looked at various exercises in which we will be doing that exercise. So for a customer care executive, especially, how are you going to resolve a conflict? So we had an exercise at telecom, kind of a customer care, somebody calling up saying, hey, we have a problem. So how are you going to deal with that conflict, etc.? So you can do that. It's not that something which you can't, unless and until your organization trains a couple of people in that, it can easily be done. But you can't tell, hey, for the entire organization, I want to, for different levels and for everything, I want to run an assessment center or a development center. It
Yeah,
is
that's
impossible.
obviously. Yeah.
I think I
You
can
can't
add
do,
here,
what we saw,
ma'am.
bang, bing, bang. You can do it incremental way. And typically the way we go is volume hiring, a particular, start with a pilot, start with few numbers, then go ahead. You are not doing one-on-one, right? Wherever there is a job for which you really want the best hire, then you are wanting a lot of, participants to come and participate in it. And that's where you are doing. You're not running an assessment center just for one candidate. Okay? Yeah.
Basically,
Sure.
Sneh, if you hire a third party like Aon or Mercer, they will ask you to do so much of work. Like they'll ask you a lot of data about the competencies of every job level and all. So you will end up doing that. Maybe initially you can outsource, but later on, it's a good idea when you are well versed with it. But as ma'am said, like every job does not need to be going through assessment center.
So personally speaking, just to bring in my experience as a director for Ernst & Young, we did a lot of work in the area of competency mapping, assessment centers, development centers, both for public sector and also private sector. Like, for example, we did for huge organizations like IOC, refineries, pipelines, and especially for their middle management and also for their top management. Okay. So at that point of time, yes, it has a big budget. You know how the commercials work. So you wanting to outsource it. And Mahindra, we did huge amount of work for the tractor segment. So it can be done. So, well, the question for Sneha was, can we do it internally? You can do it internally. It's nothing, provided you have the talent
Yes,
within, right?
I need a
Okay.
team also
Yeah.
Yes,
and budget.
I would agree, ma'am, to your point that external consultants bring a lot of the reason for choosing them for these assessments is they bring a lot of neutrality and non-biased approach to the entire process. So
You touched
I
upon a good point, Parul. So we used to outsource compensation surveys and some of the things, not because we didn't have the internal talent, but because, typically, even if we have done it to a best of our intent, but to eliminate that, feeling that, bias, oh, they have done it. Like, for example, employee surveys also. So they say, no, something must have. So to bring in that transparency and objectivity, you bring in third party also sometimes. Okay. Especially as development centers also, we bring third party because, internally when you do it, there's always some kind of a subjectivity involved, they say. Yeah. To get a better buy-in from business. Okay.
Even it happened in my last organization. We have done assessment centers, even development centers, I should say, for a
Right.
few high potential candidates at leadership position.
Right.
So what was the result? It was not expected. So who are very good performers and even a favorites of you can say the chairperson. So they didn't get good marks through the development center. So even that was not a successful thing in our organization because that acceptance was not there. So even
You
that is
said the
also
right thing, Vinita, because I have experienced myself whenever we have tried out certain things, especially this high potential stuff, high pot stuff. So people who have not got into that would say, "Hey, perceptions, how I know." We were expecting those people to be into that group. Obviously, something internal when you do. So it's always better to do it outside. Okay. Yeah. But what's very, very important is what I've also realized, when you don't know anything, when you don't have the talent internally, for example, a compensation survey. When you don't have the talent internally, the consultant will come, do something and go away. But you don't know what has the consultant done, how has it impacted. You are paying the money, you don't get value. But if you know what it is, you are able to at least understand and also then try to get the maximum, that is, the maximum ROI when you get a consultant from outside. That's the point, Sneha. You are able to get more from the consultant if you know
Understand.
the job yourself, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like cooking. You can guide the cook better if you know it how to cook.
Yeah, otherwise she'll come prepare something and go and still she'll say, "Hey, I've done a great job." You don't know how to evaluate them.
but still
Ma'am, but
even
Vinita had a different point. What she
yeah,
said was,
One
uh,
second, yeah.
ma'am,
Uh,
Vinita made different point. Vinita, may I?
uh,
yeah. It even I was about to say that the thing was in my last organization, the acceptance. Even we have framed the competencies internally, and the assessors were outside, and even they don't have that biased approach, but still the acceptance from by the people, even by the management, ki ha, this is the thing which we have to carry out. We have spent approximately half a crore on that, but still the next year we have done the promotions and all the things in our way. We have not followed that assessments, even that have been used for the IDP plan, but not for the promotions and all.
so there
So
are
that
two things.
acceptance is also required.
Vinita, there are two things. As you said, the next year, then people, and then the management did what they wanted. Perception. So sometimes, you want to bring in the flavor, perception, we are doing this, all this, but then yet again, it's very, see, unless and until you really want to bring in that robustness, that rigor, people have to then be very, very, you got to adhere to something. But typically, if you have noticed, it's very difficult to start getting into that new practices. You tend to feel comfortable doing what you have been doing. The business, especially HR, might love to do a lot of things, but the business cannot accept. So perceptions, how do you manage perceptions is one key thing for a CHRO. How do you get the buy-in? Key thing for a CHRO. So these are some of the things which matter a lot. Unless and until all the business heads are in sync with your thought and the perceptions, so then you can bring in anything. And in fact, most of the organizations, they started balance scorecard, they started competency mapping, they'll do everything. But then after a year or two, then they'll go back to their own ways of doing things. Few organizations, I think, definitely have done very well because they looked at the professional part of it. They looked at the best. So instead of people running the processes, they ensure that the process actually run the organization. So when you have competency mapping, when you have assessment centers, you are actually trying to put the right kind of practices. You are not letting people start, running the processes. Okay. Yeah, there is objectivity, there is transparency, right? And like, for example, an assessment center, you are able to put standards and then you are able to evaluate, right? Okay. And okay, why do you think we should use, needless to say, because you see the predictive validity of different selection tools. Interview. What is the predictive validity? A typical traditional interview we do. First of all, what do you mean by predictive validity?
That how perfect that would be to judge a
How
person.
right is your prediction about the person that he'll succeed in that role?
I mean, the tools used.
Yeah. So I would say I wouldn't use a word right, but I will say, hey, can I predict or forecast? If I've taken a person, can I predict that this person can perform? Okay. So when I do a personal interview, that is a typical traditional interview, the predictability, that is forecasting of that person in terms of that he can perform, is only 0.4. So the maximum predictability is only through assessment centers. In fact, some people say, hey, only by handwriting, I can predict how good is that person. It's only 0.02. Say, for example, if I were to hire a person just by my gut instinct, will there be high predictability or low predictability? Tell me.
Low.
Low.
Low. If I say I'm going to hire a person just by my first impressions of that person because he speaks very well, he dresses very well, his body language is excellent, will it be high predictability or low predictability?
Low.
So what I'm trying to tell here is that, hey, they might be just cognitive biases, because an individual is always ruled by biases. For example, in an interview, what happens? Where are you from? Oh, I'm from IIM. Oh, even I'm from IIM. Same college, same thing. The real interview of testing him, evaluating goes out of the window. And then, so I'm sure you've done this, right? Okay. And after 3 months, you'll find that, hey, you know, so you have certain biases. So when you put a process in place, like an assessment center, okay, or a competency-based interviewing with competencies in place and a standardized tool, then your predictability, the outcomes are far more better. So that is what is called predictive validity, and there is also higher reliability. Okay. So to that extent, then your costs get lowered. You get better quality. Okay, so you can do assessment centers for entry-level positions. You also can do for mid-level. You also can do for senior level. But will it be for the same competencies or will it be for the same parts? No, because definitely the exercises or the techniques you use are different because they are for different competencies. Say, for example, I'm actually testing for leadership. So it will be leadership competencies for that particular level, with early or mid or top. So depending on that, so if you notice, so for an entry level, you'll have different kind of tests. It could be general aptitude, functional tests, etc. For a mid-level, could be leadership assessment. So your exercises will be different. You can have a case study. You can have a competency-based interview. You can also have a 360 degrees feedback. You can have an in-basket. And for a top level or a senior level, you'll have different kind of things. You'll have simulations, presentations, business case studies. Typically, if you are hiring for a CXO, you will give them some kind of a material, a case, etc. Say, please prepare, make a presentation to us, right? Huh? So these are some of the things which are used at different level of positions with different requirements. Okay. So I want you to look at this exercise before we actually start doing it, because one will be, what is it, customer service executive, one will be the, so we are going to do a role play, and I will also have some people observing, and everything is given in detail, what to observe, etc., even rating scale. So it will be very interesting. So have a look at it. This is the role, this is the scenario. What are the key competencies you're going to assess? Are these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Customer service, problem solving, communication, conflict resolution, adaptability. All the observers will need to use a Excel format. This is the criteria, assessment criteria. These are the bars given, have already given. And this is also the rating scale where A, B, C, D have given already. Okay. And they mean unsatisfactory, needs improvement, satisfactory 4. So when you observe this role play, you will have to actually then look at the behavior, observe the behavior, then record the behavior, and here it's already given, so you can circle it, then put it in the classify. That is, it belongs to 1, 2, 3, 4. Create a nice matrix, all right? You will be learning then how to do it. We're going to do a role play. A very good exercise used in most of the assessment centers, through which we can assess competencies, especially at a entry level. Okay, let me give you a little backdrop of this role play exercise. The role one has to play is a customer care executive, or we can call it as a customer service representative. Now, I want this role to be played by Sneh. Is Sneh there? Sneh, are you there?
ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you okay? Can you do you want to volunteer to play this role, customer service executive or
Sure. I
customer
can play that.
service?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you are a CSR, customer service representative, of which company? A telecommunication company. And
Okay.
what is your role? You are handling customer inquiries and resolving also conflicts and ensuring customer satisfaction. These are the three things: handling inquiries, resolving conflicts, and ensuring customer satisfaction. And in this role play, you will be dealing. So you are going to have um, a aggrieved customer, and that customer is going to be Vinita. Okay, Vinita is using this internet services of this telecommunication company. Now, Vinita is upset, who is experiencing an issue with their internet service. Okay, what is the issue? So Sneh receives a call from the customer, Vinita, who is frustrated because their internet service has been intermittent for the past 1 week. They explain that they have already contacted the company, which normally happens multiple times, but haven't received a satisfactory resolution. The customer is upset and demands immediate action, which we normally do that, and to resolve the issue. So Sneh's goal is to address its customers' concerns, find a solution, and ensure that they are satisfied with the outcome. Right. I'll also give you a little understanding of what are the competencies am I assessing. Customer service, demonstrating empathy, active listening, understanding customers' perspective, problem solving. There's a problem, so you have to analyze it, identify, give solutions, possible solutions. Communication, how are you communicating, effective communication, etc., etc. How are you resolving the conflict? And adaptability, dealing with this unexpected challenges, etc. This is the assessment criteria for the observers who are going to be others, Madhuri, then Shiv, and then others. So you have to maintain that Excel sheet, and this is your assessment criteria, whether, ability to listen actively. Who? We are not concerned about Vinita so much. We are looking at Sneh and how does she communicate, analytical, how is she resolving, is she adaptable? Now, these are the bars. You don't even have to think hard. For all of them, there are bars. Okay. And you have that already. I have sent you that. So keep watching and just circle in ABCD under active listening. What is it? Keep watching under ABCD of problem solving. Which is it? So the observer have to do that, and then we will come to an end of evaluation. All the observers will then assess Sneh and say what she. Okay, I give 2 minutes to both Vinith and also to Sneh. Just to read up. Can I close? Okay, I will close this. So I'll go to the main. I'll also make that. Right. Okay. Yeah. So the observers, you have your sheets. I want you to observe, write evidence, because we're going to discuss that vis-a-vis all the competencies bars. Okay. I give you some time for Vinita also to make her complaints. Okay. And I give some time to Sneha also. to do some preparation. Okay. And when you give me a thumbs up, we can start. And we will give time only. I will give initially, say about 6 minutes. And then I will see, okay? But ensure all the bars are covered, etc. All right, guys.
So I'm ready with my complaints.
Yeah, is also ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Done? All right. So it is actually Vineet who has to tring and talk to Snail and give the complaint.
Train.
Yeah. Some,
Hi, hello, ma'am.
Hi, so I have a complaint. Even I have registered so many times regarding my internet connection, but didn't get any solution for that. So are you the
Sure, ma'am.
consultant?
I'm
So
very
should I
sorry to know that. Can you elaborate a little more? Because I couldn't
So,
really understand the problem well. If you could just
so,
let me know what are the issues that you're facing.
so since 15 days, my internet is not working, and even I have approached your customer cell approximately 4-5 times, and I don't have time to raise it on a daily basis. Still, I didn't get any solution.
Okay, let me just give me a minute. I'll just check the records that, have you contacted us before? As I can see, you have tried to reach us like a couple of times. I'm so sorry that you had to call up again and again. May I know the exact time when exactly which date you started, facing the issue and, what is the frequency? Are you able to use it now or, what is the status now? Has there been any improvement after that?
No, that's why I'm raising it again.
Okay, no improvement at all.
No, it's not at all working. Even work from home scenario is going on in the offices, and I'm not able to even join meetings. So I have to use my phone for that.
Okay. Can you just give me a moment? I'll just see if I can do something internally and change some settings and if that can work. Would you be online for a second?
Sure.
Ma'am, can I request you to restart your phone and just see if it's working now because we've made some changes internally.
I have just checked again. The scenario is same. It's not working.
It's not working. Okay. Ma'am, can I give you a reference number? And this time I'll ensure that you will definitely receive a solution by a day or two. A team senior to us will contact you in a day's time.
But
And
Sneh,
if they don't, you
I'm
can
sorry, but
reach
I
out
have
to
received
me.
this the reference number even by the earlier executive also, and nobody is picking up the phone. This is the number which they have given. Nobody is picking up the
Okay,
call.
okay, fair enough. Just give me a minute again. I'll just try and reach out to them right away. If anybody is available, I'll ensure that my seniors talk to you, a technical team who are the expert for the same. I'll direct the line directly to them and then see if they can solve the issue. Just give me a moment. Yeah, hi, ma'am. Now we've transferred the line to technical expert. Can I help you here?
Yeah. Hi. So my this is my registered number, and my internet is not working since last 15 days.
So actually, ma'am, we've seen, I think there's an issue with the area. So we're really working overnight for that. The complaint has come from a lot of places. So it's going to take another 24 to 48 hours. So we are
Okay.
extremely sorry for the inconvenience, but we'll definitely get this resolved on priority in next 24 hours. Be
Huh.
rest assured, you don't really have to call back us again. We'll be calling you tomorrow or max a day after and ensuring that everything's working fine.
So also note
We are
that if you are
extremely
not able to
sorry.
do it within 48 hours, so please consider my request as for the disconnection.
No, ma'am. We have the request that there
I'm
is
not
some
going
issue
to
with the
call again.
area.
I'm not going to pay the bill. So please consider it. I'm literally at my peak
Definitely,
of my
ma'am.
frustration.
Definitely, ma'am. Don't worry. We'll ensure that everything is sorted out and you don't have to reach out to us. We'll call you back tomorrow with the status, with the updated status.
So if
And
within
again, we
48
are
hours
extremely
my
sorry
request
for the
won't
inconvenience
it
caused.
won't it's okay. I don't need that apology. I need the solution. So if it won't be, so
Yeah. We are
I'll
trying our best,
disconnect and
ma'am.
even
Our
I'll
entire
apply
team is
for the
working on
other.
it. No, we
Okay,
are
thank
extremely
you.
sorry, but our entire team is working on it and we should be able to resolve it in 24 hours.
I'm sorry, but I'm receiving the same answers every time. I'm hoping. Let's hope.
No, ma'am. I think
this
you're
time
talking to
things
the
will get resolved.
technical expert for the first time. So I think you've always spoken to the customer executive. This is the first time the technical expert is online. So
Yeah.
be rest assured, things, the problem will get resolved.
Great. Let's hope for the
Okay.
best. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Good. Vinita sounded like my husband who would always say, I don't care, but I want it right now. Huh? And
Actually, it happens so frequently.
Good.
So we know that at least I know my dialogue.
I don't want to listen to that same stereotypic conversation.
Exactly. Even that robot conversation. हम
Yeah.
माफी चाहते हैं
Okay.
आपकी inconvenience के लिए. That's
Good show. Okay. And
Good for
Sneha also did a role very well, saying, giving the
nicely.
same transcript,
patient.
And this, now, first of all, I will make you all, this is a very interesting conversation you all had now. First, let us go to the step by step. Let us go to the observers first. Okay. Now, observers, can you please show up here? Okay. And since everything is very transparent and open here, okay, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 competencies with their bars. All right. Now, observer, any observer. Yeah. Tell me, just talk about one and where did you, active listening. One observer. Where will you circle Sneha?
B. I would
Who is
B.
this?
Prashant.
Prashant. You said B. Sometimes listens but fails to fully understand
No.
customers.
Not B, ma'am. D for Delhi.
D for Delhi. Actively listens, asks clarifying questions, and paraphrases to ensure understanding. Okay, since we don't have much time. Okay, so as an assessor, when you're doing this, and as an observer, I've said D. So you also will write some evidence saying that, hey, this is what I observed. So I want to ask you, Prashant, can you give me some evidence that
Yes.
she was listening, asking
Yeah.
clarifying
She
questions? One or two,
apologized
that's it.
for the inconvenience and she asked about, is it working sometimes or is it completely gone?
Okay. I
Does
will
it
ask
work
Vinita
sometimes?
later. Vinita later. I will only first ask observers. I'll ask Vinita later.
Have you
Okay.
contacted, sorry for, making contact so many times. So that shows active listening and
Okay. She was asking some so clarifying questions.
and
And so
clarifying
you
that
felt,
is it intermittently working or is it completely not working?
okay. Did she also do some paraphrases after listening to her, after listening to the entire thing of Vinita? Did she then paraphrase? What does it mean?
No,
I mean,
she did
putting it
not
together and saying,
repeat. Yeah, she
huh?
did not paraphrase. So I think that is missing.
Yes or no? She did or no? Okay, we'll hang on. Okay, so, so to my knowledge, she did not do paraphrasing. Okay, she
Yes.
only reacted. Okay, right? Okay. Now let's come to next person. You heard what
Problem
she said.
solving, actually, problem analysis.
Okay,
I rated B.
all right.
Identify some aspect of the problem, but miss the key factors. During the discussion,
Right.
there is the complaint. The customer executive has not gone into deep about asking the questions related to how the
Yes.
from which date the problem is there and what is the connectivity, how the connectivity is going on. So this need to be focused on.
Absolutely right. I mean, your observation about, did she ask questions in terms of when was it, from where, and what, in
Yes.
depth? That analysis was missing. She came up upfront with some responses. Right. Okay. Okay. Great. Good observation. Good observation. The next time I'm going to assign one competency to everybody so that you can do justice. That will be better probably. Yeah. One more person, another person for communication effectiveness. So who is there? Madhuri. Okay, no problem. So communication effectiveness. Tell me, where do you think she was there and what evidence have you gathered?
Communication, it is for C, okay, communicates clearly and provides relevant information, okay. So she actually asked means questions, means ki what means problem you are facing and how many times you have contacted, okay. And means there was flow and flow. He means ki she asked also, and she gave the means information on it. Like means she checked also. He means in
Okay.
data, means
Okay.
in date in her data. He means
Okay.
and the later on means ki when means again Vinita was complaining. She means ki I went to your executive. So even reference number I got. So again she connected with her means technical expertise, and she asked he means what is the exact problem is there, and she communicates to customer. He means see means there is a area means there
Okay.
is a problem in your area.
Got it. So some evidence has been gathered and she took out a report where, yes, there were. So she gave some information. Okay. All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Parul. Thank you. Parul, conflict resolution. Let's see.
Ma'am, can you just expand the screen? I'm reading. Yeah, thank you so much. I think on the conflict resolution, C, she does demonstrate the empathy while addressing the conflict. She remained composed because she was apologizing for company's lack of service. And though it was not her personal fault, but as being the role holder, she did that. She remained composed. She was trying to demonstrate empathy while addressing the conflict, but the solution wasn't in her hand. So she tried her different levels where she even reached out to the technical expert. And based on the reference numbers, she digged out the information.
Yeah.
And so she was trying to find out the solution.
Some amount of addressing of the conflict. Okay. 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 Good. Is there one more person? Sampada, are you there? Sampada? One more person for adaptability. One. Is she there or anybody else who wants to? Okay. I'm not able to connect to Sampada. So anyone who wants to volunteer and talk about adaptability?
Yes, I can. So I would say looking at the options, C again, she adapts and responses. The responses were based on the customer need and adjusts her approach. Like she knew that this problem has been occurring for last 15 days in that area, and hence talking to the immediate supervisor won't help. Talking to a technical person will kind of give an assurance to Vinita, the aggrieved customer. So she took a decision looking at the situation and adapted to it and chose to reach out to the technical expert.
Okay. Okay. So let's ask Vinita, the aggrieved customer. So I will ask her as a customer because she is the one who was on the other side. So when I look at active listening, where do you think Sneh was? Where did you feel? What?
D.
Huh?
She was
D.
C.
She was listening.
Even
clarifying
I was intervening when she was saying, even, but still she stopped at that time. And when I stopped, so then she started. So she was active listening and even giving me that kind of solution. It was not a robotic language she was using. So that manual intervention was there. So
okay. So to that extent, observer who actually gave comment on active listening is almost on par with the aggrieved customer. I think it was Prashant, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So
problem sorry, please.
but yeah, paraphrasing was not done, but still
not much of paraphrasing was done. Yeah. So that is important. So we'll come back again to Sneh on that. Okay. Problem analysis. Who was the person who did problem analysis?
Shiv
I think
has
it was Shiv.
given,
Shiv.
Shiv has
Shiv.
given B, but I'll go again for C because she has tried 2-3 things. She has asked,
Mhm.
I have done this change, so is it working now? And even she checked that the
Accurately
scenario,
identifying.
and then
Okay.
even
Mhm.
she connected me directly to the technical person who is
Okay.
the problem solver. So in that
Okay.
way, she solved. So I would like to give her a C if at least she tried for that. Definitely, when problem will get solved, that would it would be better to judge at that time. But for her efforts, it would be C.
Right. Good. Good. So communication.
Communication again, it was even I will say D for that because she was patient, she was listening me, she
Yeah.
was using appropriate language again, which are relatable, and even I would be able to understand even, and I can understand that yes, she's trying to solve my problem in that way. And even providing comprehensive explanations that this is the problem in your area, and definitely within 48 hours, and even we'll get back to you, we'll call you for that, which is normally not a customer service provider does.
Okay. Conflict resolution.
It's again C. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay. Composed, demonstrate sympathy.
she tried to
Okay.
resolve any.
Adaptability.
Again, for my, yeah, if it is a newly kind of thing, so even she adapts, and even maybe the normal course of process would be escalating to her manager, which she didn't do, and she directly escalated to the concerned person, which is a technical.
Okay. 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 All right. So good. So now, so typically A, now coming from the point of learning for an assessment center, have you seen a challenge when you have an exercise and when you put a laundry list of competencies, say more than 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, will it be easy for observers to observe and record? Tell me, yes or no?
No.
See? Huh?
If it is a laundry list like 5,
Yes.
so more or less the things would be repetitive. So the
No,
incident.
I'm not talking about repetitive. A,
So I
in
think
an
2, 3
assessment center,
competencies are good enough, right? Like rather than
what
5,
my
6.
my question to you all is, so from the learning point, typically when you use an exercise, do not have in your assessment center design matrix that this role play exercise is going to assess 4 competencies, 5 competencies. Are you with me? Because the observers cannot observe everything. So at best, 3 competencies. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
At
I
best,
agree with that.
2 to 3 competencies, because I,
Good.
as an observer, what am I going to? Because ultimately, you can't do injustice. You have to have evidence. You have to, observe very carefully. You can't think of something else. You have to observe carefully. What is she saying? What is she doing? Everything, body language. So you have to capture all that. To capture, so you can't capture all the competencies bars. So, as an assessment center designer, to use the right exercise, and also do not have this ambition of that through one exercise I'm going to have laundry list of competencies to be assessed. Got it? Okay, that's one.
Yes, ma'am.
Very important. Like for example, uh, when you're setting the goals also, you can't have too many goals for one activity, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Or for example, you are doing a training program, you cannot have too many objectives, or you are designing an incentive plan. You can't have too many goals for one incentive plan. I want to achieve X, Y, Z, everything. Okay. So that also comes into play here when you are designing a assessment matrix, saying that you can observe.
Yes,
B.
ma'am.
So I'm not here trying to teach Sneh here. I'm not getting into the development mode of how. So what is very, very important is the way Sneh has responded or reacted. What was her behavior in resolving this conflict? I will observe and I will record, and then I will classify, and then I will evaluate where does it come. Okay, that's important. Like, for example, I have to differentiate between responding and reacting. So that means, should the observers be really trained in the usage of words? Yes or no? What kind of words the SSC is using? Should they be trained?
Yes, yes.
Huh?
Like,
Otherwise, if I'm not trained in observing and capturing those words, then I might say, she was responding for something. She was very empathetic while she was actually
yeah.
reacting, or she was only sympathizing. So I really need to be trained in all this. So then, should the observer be trained actually? What are those competencies are we assessing? So what are those bars? So I need to have a pre, training on what am I actually assessing, what am I observing, and what are those bars I need to observe, and what are those indicators. So this is a must, and this is a prerequisite for all the observers, or what we call as the assessors, to understand. We'll come to that. What kind of
Yeah, like
training
I
is
missed the
required.
paraphrase part of active listening.
Huh. So like you said, paraphrase. So I need to know what is paraphrase as an observer or an assessor, so that if actually Sneh has not done paraphrasing, so I will write yes, she has not done paraphrasing. Okay, because let me also tell you, when you paraphrase and when you actually go through the entire thing and summarize, the customer gets that feeling, oh, she has understood my problem, and if there is some gap, she'll say, no, this also has to be added. Are you with me, Sneh?
Yes,
Okay.
understood. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So what's the learning? So from the learning point of view, not from, how to deal with the customer's
Learning
conflict
is that,
resolution,
I mean, we
but
need
from the
to
point
keep
of assessment center. Okay. What are
few
the key takeaways
competencies to
here?
be observed, few bars, not too
Let,
many, not more
yeah,
than
let
three.
me see. Okay. So when you're designing an assessment center, be very, very sure of what is that exercise which you are using for which competency, right? Then you cannot have too many competencies being evaluated for one exercise. Okay, and ensure that your indicators are also very, very appropriate and creating the rating scale. And as an assessor, so you should have a understanding of all this so that you are able to observe or capture. Okay, all right.
And also
Okay.
for the person, I mean,
Hmm.
in this case, like
Hmm.
the person should also know the bars on which he or she will be evaluated by the observer. If she knows like paraphrasing is important, probably she will have to know that evaluation
You're
criteria.
letting the cat out, Prashant. And no,
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 no.
no, no.
If
That
I'm
you
going to
can't be
call a
aware, right? Yeah.
person, if I'm going to call a person and I'm going to select a person,
Okay,
then
recruitment, no. For
absolutely
this, no.
I will
Yeah,
do
I
as
agree with
required.
Prashant, ma'am.
For
Even I agree.
performance appraisal, I think
Exactly.
we
For
should.
performance appraisal for my work, I should know what are the competencies and what is expected from me. Maybe at
Okay,
a
you brought out
proficiency
a
level,
very interesting thing. No, Prashant has brought out a very interesting thing. Okay. So when I'm doing an assessment center, I'm selecting a person, right? I'm evaluating a person. So if I'm going to tell you that it has to be this way, if I'm going to tell you the bars, then you will tend to do that. That's what the career coaching classes are doing. How should you master the art of assessment center? Okay.
It's like means you're disclosing all the question paper before exam.
Yeah. So I will do. It's a hypo. So are you a good player? Yes, I'm a good player. Are you a good leader? So you'll know the bars. So you will try to pretend that way. Got it? So you don't. Now again, coming to development center. Even in development center, I'm not going to disclose that because I want to know the gaps. But
Yeah.
Vinita has said performance management. What is the goal of performance management? I have to manage performance so that Prashant can do better, right? So I will set his goals. Then I'll also set his goals in a way saying that this is what you need to perform in this way. Because my objective is not for him to be hypothetical. At the end of the day, his outcome is he has to perform better. So I will also tell him that this is how you have to perform. There I will tell all the behaviors that this is how it will look. For an incentive plan, I will say if you perform this way, you will get 100%. If you perform this way, you will get 150%.
Yeah.
Are you with me? Are you finding the differentiation?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Second role play. All right. Do not look at, we will just first look at what is the assessment criteria. Vilma, Can you just scroll down? So we are looking at teamwork, problem analysis, communication and information sharing, creativity. So there are 5. So here I want you to look at only 4, and we are going to ignore creativity and innovation. All right. Now, what is the exercise? They're going to be, we are having how many members? We're having, okay. So we'll have 3 members. I'm going to give a topic. It's going to be a leaderless group discussion, but the end of it, they have to come up with a goal. There's a goal as well. All right. So what is it? Women make better leaders. And we have Prashant, part of the team. And then we have Parul. And then we have Madhuri. Okay. These are the 3 people. Parul, Madhuri, and Prashant. What is the topic? Women make good leaders. Now at the end of the goal, you have to come to one stand.
There
Whether
are
they
2
make
women in the
yeah, purposely. Okay, you want me to make one more? Okay, I'll have
Okay,
Shiv
it's
balancing
okay.
it.
That's good.
So 2:2. Okay. Now, so who are the observers? Sneh, Vinita, and who else I have here? Anybody else? I have Sneh, I have Vinita, and then who else?
Shiv is
How
there?
many more? Huh?
Shiv,
Sampada. Okay, Sampada, 3. So I will only keep 3 competencies then. So so Sneh will do, 1 second. Sneh will do 1, which is, she can take a choice. Which competency you want to observe? Sneh.
Problem analysis and planning.
Planning. Okay. Then Sampada, which one you want to watch?
We'll go for communication and information sharing.
Right. And we have one more person, I think, right?
I'm the 3rd person.
Who is it?
Me, Vinita.
Vinita. Yeah, Vinita, which one?
I'm not able to see the. So teamwork and collaboration. Yeah.
Teamwork and collaboration, and one more. You can choose one more. Okay.
Okay.
Because they are 5.
Yeah. So
Right?
the last one.
Done. Okay. And I'll give
Problem
3 to 4 minutes for the team to also put their thoughts together. Huh? Women can make better leaders. And the team is who all? Parul, Shiv, Prashant, and one more. I think we have one more lady. Who was that?
Madhuri.
Madhuri. Done. So I'll
So the objective is to discuss our thoughts on the topic given is women make better leader.
Better leader.
And I believe we 4 of us have to come to the conclusion. And in that, each and every person's thoughts have to be counted for. So we can do one by one, give our own thoughts about this topic. And in the last 1 minute, we can conclude. So
Yeah.
we can start with Prashant, you only?
No. I don't want to be contentious.
Shiv, would you like to
Madhuri
take?
is away.
And
Madhuri, we
Madhuri.
can't see her. So
Okay. So I will start. I think women make better leader because means they are having innate means ability. What I feel means see if we see the mother's job. Okay, so they are means doing it without an expectation. Okay, so they creates a means a better leader, and means they are having means they are means managing everything from home to office, from themselves to every family member. So they used to take care of each and everything. So I used to feel means even they observe more means even they are having learning ability. They used to go deep to means resolve, and means if any problem comes to them, so they used to go deeper and deeper to resolve that problem.
Okay.
Even they manage
Fine.
means
So
everything flawless, means it's not like a flaws by flawless, but they used to manage it.
Okay, fine. We should
I
move
mean,
to the
just
next.
just one
Yeah.
point with
Yeah.
Parul.
Yeah.
Difference between a manager and a leader.
Yeah.
They are good managers. Maybe they are not good leaders.
Yeah. So what are the good qualities of a good leader?
I just want to add that women are more focused, particularly in leadership role. What I experienced during my tenure, they are very good in listening. Also, somewhere I've seen that while dealing with external agencies. So I suggest that women are more focused towards the work comparison to the men, and they are very I can say they are very humble also, or polite while dealing with the people. So the women men are somewhere more aggressive while dealing with in some in critical situations, or in conflict situations.
Can I interrupt? Can I interrupt?
Yes.
Yes.
The statement given is women make good leaders. Okay, that's it.
Mm.
So, okay, I will. I'm not also trying to say women are better leaders than men. I've given you what women
Yes.
make good
Mm.
leaders. All right, that's it. I don't want to let out more. Okay.
Yeah. So we were talking, but Prashant, you want to add, or can I?
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
please go ahead.
Okay. So good qualities of a good leader is somebody who is focused, driven, is in today's time collaborative, has good planning and organizing skills, and maintains the emotional quotient also. So I believe women has all of these qualities because they have been, if I may say so, have been suppressed for quite some time, and they don't have that visibility in the corporate world also. So they are very driven, they're very focused, and by their nature or their traits or their built intellect also is high, and they have those qualities of emotional quotient, being a mother, being a nurturer. They have those emotional quotient qualities, and intellectually also they had more, all the 10th or 12th results, if you see, girls score higher than men, though that is not a comparison, but in all these terms I believe women make good leaders because they're driven, focused, intellectually high, and have high emotional quotient. Uh, That's my sum up.
Yeah, so I think Parul gave the example of good managing ability. So before you become a leader, it's prerequisite to actually have a good managing ability. Shiv said that the same things, like men are sometimes aggressive, and he has seen examples where women have been more empathetic. You two are talking about emotional quotients and academically better. I do have similar opinion. Like all these three things, I definitely observe where I have observed this in my house, my family, as well as in the corporate world also. One thing which I have seen that women mostly are in the corporate world, not in the political world. We have seen great women like Indira Gandhi or uh, uh, Sri Lankan presidents, as well as women leaders like Margaret Thatcher, even in the history also. But then in corporate world, I think the financial acumen about ROI, ROCE, share market or trading, or sometimes so technical skills where financial acumen is required, they need to be educated more. There's a scope of improvement. So in general, I would say if a role requires inspirational leadership or empathetic leadership, where the customer needs a high weightage on, or we need a high weightage, the team needs, the stakeholders need high weightage on emotional quotient, balance of prioritization of abstract compassion like things, I think there they would fit in as the best leaders. In general, everybody has different, but yeah, there are outliers, but I think more or less this statement is true.
Okay, so we can conclude this. Madhuri's words also were there.
Yeah. Means we can conclude this.
Okay, so Shiv, would you conclude it with this statement we have?
I mean, I would love to have objections.
Yes.
The financial acumen is only one part you said,
Yes,
but
that's what I said. Only on
yeah.
those areas. Apart from that, I would say in general, I can assume that they're great.
Yeah,
I can.
yeah. I like to just add here, leader doesn't mean that one has to be good and competent in everything. A leader is somebody who shows the path and make people feel that yes, they should follow that path, and even brings out the best out from them.
Yeah,
And
inspirational
Actually, the
leadership,
women are
empathetic
not
leadership, they are great.
judgmental. Actually, in terms of negotiation, when there is a conflict or when we're discussing with the parties, so women is not become judgmental. Man having this tendency of judgment become judgmental on the past experience, but women doesn't have that.
Shiv, I like to bring your attention to the
Mhm.
subject. We are not comparing men are better leader or
No, no,
women
no,
are better leader.
I'm just
So the
giving the
comparison
support.
is,
No, I'm just giving the supportive of it. That's why I'm considering that the women are better leaders than the men.
No, it's not better. The
no,
subject is
it
they are
is,
good leaders. That's
yeah,
what we
I,
are.
I agree with Parul. I agree with Parul. Means, means see if you're talking about the particular finance thing, no? So
Just
means it's
1 minute, a few
depend.
seconds to wrap up. Hmm.
yeah. So we'll just wrap up with this, that we all four agree and come to the conclusion that women make good leaders.
In
Yes,
general,
yes,
yes.
yes.
Okay. Ma'am, we have found the conclusion.
Your goal is completed. Hmm? So you
Yes.
agree that women make good leaders. Great.
All four of us, yes.
Okay. I'll keep my comments little later. Let me first go to the observers. First observer I can see here name is Sneh. Okay, Sneh.
So I think problem solving and decision making makes well-informed decision based on team conscious and critical evaluation. So after a lot of debate and everyone had their own point of view, but I think the wrap up was pretty much in the same direction. What they said that okay, we all agree that women make good leaders. So I think it's B for them.
Okay, all right. Let's go to next Sampada.
Yes, for me, communication and information sharing, I would say C, shares relevant information and updates with the team in a timely manner. I think everybody was speaking on a same topic. I mean, everybody were no, they did not have any questions to ask, or they did not have any feedback to give on something. I mean, they were feedback, but actually they all were in the same topic, and they were agreed to one goal. So I think there was a lot of information sharing rather than any constructive feedback or any concerns that need to be clarified.
Okay, okay, all right. Then do one more
So
person.
I have to do for the teamwork and collaboration. So
Okay,
I'll
okay.
give that B, that they actively listens and even they give values to the team members' input. So when Parul has shared that thing, so even that whatever Parul had said, even I agree to that and that conclusion. But still, there is little bit indifferences were there, and but they showed respect to each other's value points. But
One observer, I thought.
much,
There was
much
one more
debatable.
observer. Hmm? Hmm?
But they didn't make it much debatable. That was
There was one more
very
observer.
no 3 observers. I have to do for the teamwork and the problem analysis and planning also.
Okay,
So
okay,
even for the
okay.
identification of problem initially were not there. You
Done,
intervened
done.
and then even Parul identified and even
Okay.
bring back to the
Okay.
actual problem.
Now, let me give you a very nice, this is very interesting. A, observation. Now, what is the purpose or what was the goal of the assessment of this exercise? What was given? A topic for group discussion, right? But what did they want to assess? A, how do they coordinate, right? How do they accept each other's view? Are they individual players or are they? I'm just saying how in an assessment center, if I want, I can give an exercise, but to evaluate something else. I can give an exercise to evaluate contradict to that something else. So here, my goal was to see, is the team cohesive? Because my organization has more teamwork. I don't want individual players. Make good leaders. Initially, you got into a debatable thing, forgetting about the goal that we only needed to look at, like Parul brought you all back. What are the qualities of a leader? Do women have those qualities? So therefore, women are also good leaders. Are you getting me? Or you could have also got a stand where you were kind of, are women better than men? But the topic was not here better than men, comparing, debating. No, the topic was saying that, hey, are women good leaders? So Parul actually gave a good direction saying that what are the qualities of a leader? And women have those leaders. And then you infer saying that, yes, women make good leaders. Thought process. Okay. So to that extent, if I were to observe, yes, somewhere, but I think most of you, because we are doing a role play, most of you understood that, hey, we needed to collaborate, we needed to have teamwork. This is not we and you and we or you and they. Unless and until we cooperate and agree, you can't achieve a goal. But if I want to assess and see team behavior versus individual behavior, a very good example, leaderless group discussions, right? Are you getting me now? Any questions, guys? Any questions? For a moment, you got into individual behavior. No, this, no, that. Then again, somewhere you said, no, we have to come to a conclusion. We have to agree or disagree for something. No? Then all of you put your thoughts together and say, hey, whether they make good leaders or whether they don't make good leaders, right? Any observations, any questions, any clarifications here? How do you choose an exercise and how do you then ensure that it captures the behaviors which we are assessing?
Now, based on this activity, we assessed 3 competencies here. But we were all working in a group. So would people get rated for their individual? How will that happen? How will the assessor rate individual participant when they are working in a group?
So
role play like
when you
this?
are in a working in a group, you are going to observe, say, typically what happens, there is an activity given. Okay, here I just impromptu, I gave a topic, but there's an activity given. And then you keep watching, is this person contributing it? Is this person acting, staying separately, not participating? So you watch every individual's behavior. There is some activity which has to be, like, for example, I don't know if any, so there is what we give an activity. There is something called a very famous exercise called broken squares. Have you heard of it? If you are HR people, if you are in the L&D, I can send you that exercise. You can try it out if you are our leaders and if you want to watch out. So what we do, we make a group of 5 people, right? I make 5 squares and make them into pieces and then distribute this to each and every member, right? Now I will say, hey, the time is 10 minutes and I create some kind of an environment where you can't talk, where you can't pull something, where you have to only take that piece only when somebody gives you, and you have to make a square. You have to have a square in front of you with the pieces given, but your goal is complete only when all the 5 have 5 squares. Okay? Unless and until you share, you recognize that somebody has a problem, even at the risk of even breaking your own square, you are helping the other person. Okay. So we watch these behaviors because if I want to know that most of my work is through teamwork, and if I don't have people who are sharing, helping, coaching, giving, and they're only all the time, you will see that behavior. Somebody will only keep, looking at his own square, waiting, or you have to wait till other person gives, and somebody just waiting till they're looking at if they're giving or not. So you can actually, with this activity, look at very interesting behaviors. So typically we give an activity. And what am I looking at? Is the person giving? Is the person looking at others if they want help? Do I take the initiative? Or am I only looking at my own square, my own individual, goal? Because when I'm looking at a team goal, individual goal is not so important as team goal. So we'll ensure that everybody achieves.
So this is about teamwork and social skills.
So this exercise focusing on team behaviors, you can actually observe them. And what do you observe, as Parul asked, is a person recognizing somebody wants help? Is he giving? Is he communicating? Is he trying to solve others' problems? Okay. Now I gave you 2 exercises, which were quite easy and which I have actually planned everything. Okay. So you have to create an assessment center matrix. Identify 3 competencies required for a recruitment manager, one group, and a finance manager, the other group. Use all your material you have, only 3 competencies. Then create only bars for those 3 competencies at 3 levels, right? And list out what are those exercises will you use for evaluating those competencies. I hope my the assignment is very clear. What is it you need to do? Huh? One
That's
group
what
is
you're
going
saying.
to, so your group, what is that? You're going to select a finance manager. And the other group is going to select a recruitment manager. Is that clear? Step 1. Now, if I'm going to invite participants, okay, for an assessment center. You've done screening. Now you've called them you've done telephonic interview round. Now you are calling those 30 people for an assessment center because you don't believe in just interview. You say, I'll put an assessment center in place. Now, step 1, you have to identify competencies for that. How many? Only 3. Don't have to do more. Or if you want, you can do 4. Then identify what are those exercises or techniques will you use, just as that matrix I showed you, that you will use to assess those competencies. Then create bars for 3 competencies, that is behaviors, all right? And create a rating scale. Don't create a 4 rating scale, or you can create a 4 rating scale. That's it.
Okay, so this is what we as a group discussed, that these are 3 major competencies we should assess. For the position given to us was recruitment manager, and we have taken the service industry.
Okay.
So the overall business understanding is needed for a recruitment manager to even start hiring, so that they can understand the position better. At a beginner level, we have taken that they should have a basic understanding of the internal business processes, what kind of products company makes, and what kind of departments are there. So it is easy for them to explain it to the applicants.
Good.
At the intermediate level, the person should be more focused on understanding the cross-departmental functionalities and external stakeholders who are impacting the business, so that they can find the better fit between the applicant and for a long run success in the role, and even scalability, so that people who understand this can be promoted, are more successful. At the expert level, the person should be able to understand the industry dynamics, the critical aspects of the business, and how the cost model of the business works, so that they can focus on even senior level positions and find out the critical aspects of the position and hence get a good fit. To assess this, the activities we have suggested is business games or case studies, not big business case studies, but case-led situations.
Okay.
Then second competency we have taken is time management. At a beginner level, somebody who's already, suppose they're hiring from various campuses, they have to follow a calendar when the academic session opens and all. So the pre-decided calendar has to be followed. At the intermediate level, somebody who proactively plans ahead and has already got a, proactively ready with the list of colleges, or is ready to meet the deadlines very easily, effortlessly. At the expert level, would mean planning ahead for their annual manpower needs and creating the talent pool much ahead, so that it will be more easier to select. So for this, we for time management, we have taken in-basket exercise as the activity. Third is effective communication at the beginner level. Somebody who talks well has good command over verbal and written communication. At intermediate, communicates well, and in addition to that, has very good clarity and can connect the context and the content together, can address diverse range of audience and on various topics and subjects, can connect with them. At expert level, giving a purpose and a direction to the communication and understand the external key players and modulating their communication accordingly. So for this purpose assessment, we have taken leaderless discussion or group discussion activity.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, good work, very good work, because in a short span of time, you are able to understand that if I have to recruit a person through assessment center and I want the best person, so you've identified competencies required through job analysis, job description, and then you created bars for those competencies. And now you have also designed an assessment matrix where you are saying, okay, what exercises or what tools will actually evaluate. All right. Now, having said that, typically when you're just one suggestion, one addition to whatever you have done. So typically what happens if I've said case study, okay? So case study will evaluate business understanding because the kind of case you'll give, but it will also help you with effective, if you're saying case study with presentation, it will also give you effective communication also. How is he doing that presentation, right? Okay.
Yes. Right.
So what I'm trying to say is one activity will evaluate one competency, but we can also evaluate one more or two more competencies. That means that behavior of business understanding or the behavior of time management, then you are observing it in 2-3 places and you can see, hey, how is he doing it? So one can capture 2-3 like in basket exercise. Definitely it is taking care of your planning, organizing, time management. Very, very interesting. Leaders just discussion and group discussion and effective communication. But this business game and case study can also look at effective communication, right?
Yes, agreed, ma'am.
Just
If
to
we
add,
add the
because
presentation to it, then
yeah.
it will cover
So
both.
just to add, because typically, what are some of the other activities or tools you can use? Say, for example, you don't have much time. You can just look at a competency-based interviewing, right? Depending on the time, you can also look at just competency-based interviewing, or that recruitment manager is actually it's for all technical skills, etc. So you can do it in IT firm, maybe IT firm. So you'll also look at technical skill interviews, right? Then you can also look at what is it called? Presentations. I mean, where this case study, you will say, hey, you also please present. All right. So I think you guys have done a very good job in a very short span of time. You've been able to understand exactly how to go about. Okay. But you won't, at least you have an understanding now. From here, do all the reading material on assessment center sent by Meritt, and you can hold it back. Okay. Wonderful, guys. Let me see the next exercise.
First of all, thank you to my team members, Madhuri and Vinita, in helping this out.
Wonderful.
So we have been given the finance manager role, and we chose 3 competencies: technical expertise, which is we thought is most important for a finance guy; planning for long-term and short-term financial results; independent judgment. Do not get influenced by people coming and saying like emotionally that I need a loan and you can give him against the policy. No. So basically the description we copied from the Concom sheet that we had last.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. Very good.
We
Okay.
broke it into the parts like basic, advanced, and expert. Like first is for technical expertise, awareness of taxation and laws. detailed understanding of laws and taxes, and create ability to
Very
create
good.
budget, awareness of auditory requirements, which is very critical in finance. So that is advanced. And expertise in the budgeting plan, creating budget, taxes and laws, and ability to create data points for capturing for auditory requirements in the future. The person can
Very good.
this. And the assessment tools can be interview, case study is a must here, analysis for the presentation. where they can-
Excellent. All this can be put as case study and the same followed by presentation, which obviously data. Typically, when you give a case study to finance guy, you'll give a lot of data as well. So
Yeah.
that, he has to analyze, look at a lot of data. And then, of course, technical round in the sense, because the finance guy has to be very sound in those tax laws and,
Yeah.
all those stuff. So you can also have a technical interview. All right.
Technical
great.
interview. Okay. So here finance is very critically, we cannot have even 0.05 paisa moving here and there. So it has to be pinpoint accurate. Technical interview. So we did not put communication skill here because this is less required for a finance
Let me
guy.
also tell you one thing. Now you cannot just say for technical expertise, I will put 5 tools. Just, because organize it will become you have to have cost effective also, right? You can't have just testing one competency and you will have many tools.
Okay, so
Are you with me? Are you with me?
So we
You
should
cannot
break
have
this.
too many tools evaluating just one
Okay,
competency
okay.
also.
But
So-
here, ma'am, we have like through case study, the analysis presentation would be done. So whatever the
So
case
here
study-
what I'm trying to say is,
that
you
is
can have a
connected.
case study which can also have see, you will have a case study where you will give the case to him, he will read the case and come, then he will make a PPT and a presentation, then he will also ask questions. So the
So-
entire thing can be one. Are you with me?
Okay, got it. Yeah.
You can put it as case study and presentation.
Yes.
Where
So what should
obviously
we
when you
write it
present,
as?
the team
Okay.
will also ask questions,
Yes. So that
which will
serves
be
the purpose.
analysis. No? You are
Yes.
presenting your analysis. Case study will have to be followed up with some analysis and presentation. But okay. So when you're doing this presentation can also assess your communication.
Yes. Yes.
Are you with me?
Definitely. Yeah.
So when you write the assessment center matrix, when you're designing it, you will say, hey, I'm using a case study vertically, horizontally, you're putting that. Then when you're putting the competencies, you'll put an arrow mark. It will also do your technical expertise. It will also, you can also put an tick mark where in communication also. Got it? Okay. Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Yeah, the next one is planning. So this is again the CONCOM definition, awareness
Yeah.
of long range objectives.
Good.
I have put it as we have put it as awareness of long and short term sources of finance, like
Very important. Yeah.
equity, ROCE, ROI, EBITDA, awareness of these terms and understanding of these terms. Awareness is the basic, advance is understanding, detailed understanding of these terms, and expertise is the leveraging the financial outcomes of the organization.
Entire thing. Absolutely.
Ability to leverage the EBITDA, average, whatever you have. Financial leverages is a term that is used.
Right.
Again, interview, case study, and analysis test, ability test is what
So
we have.
again, the same thing can also, because you're going to give him a lot of data where probably he will say, okay, I have to, understand those, all the financial terms and then again, sources of finance. So the same case study can also test, evaluate planning. Got it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
On the third one, we were a bit confused on whether we should put integrity, loyalty, or independent judgment. I mean, finance guys have the
Okay.
blueprint of the organization, so loyalty, integrity comes a lot of, because insider trading, financial firms suffer from that.
Conflict of
So,
interest.
but then that is a behavioral skill.
So you
truly.
can have a nice, you have
However, we
already
put
written
independent
there.
judgment.
You have already written there. Role play is very good. It clearly comes
Yeah.
out. You can
That was
definitely have a
Madhuri's
role
idea.
play. Yeah. It's a very good idea. Role play can come out very clearly. It will show. Okay.
Yeah. So
All of
basically
you have done a
awareness of
very
the,
good job. Huh?
yeah.
Good job. And this group also has really done it very well, taking time. And I think you should really applaud yourself, guys. Okay. All right. Okay.
Especially to
Let me just
Prashant for that.
Thank
let me
you.
just take 5 minutes to conclude. I want to show you a couple of things here. Prashant, you'll have to stop sharing.
Oh,
Then I will
yes,
just.
that is the
Huh?
option.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay. You can see a very interesting spider web-like diagram, right? Huh? All right. So when you want to do a report, you can also show it this way. Now you can see three webs, three colors. What is it? One is the red color. Another is the green color. Okay. And there is another gray color. Now, say for example, for any, so you have here how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, say 5 competencies, right? Huh? 5 competencies. Then you can actually show in a web format, and today you don't even have to do this. You can feed those numbers, competency rating numbers into this web. There is another spider web kind of a thing. It will automatically give you these visuals, just like a pie chart, bar chart. This will give you this chart, okay, this web. And then you can say, hey, what is benchmark? Say for example, you can also have benchmarked kind of, say for example, typically for these competencies, for a benchmarked position, these are the rating scales. You need to have this, but you have assessed to this person, assessment you have done, and they are here. Say for example, this person on managerial skills is at 4, right? Huh? But you have to essentially be at maybe at 5. Or like this person is at what? This is almost 2 or 1, I think, dialogue and communication. But if you look at the benchmark, it is at dialogue and communication. It is at a 5. Are you with me? Are you understanding what it is? Again, for example, this one. Say I'm taking strategic mindset. So where do you think this is? I think it is around 3. But strategic mindset, you need to have it at 5. Visual representation of the gaps. Got it? Huh? And today you have a very nice, interesting apps which will give you this. When you go back, you can do, you'll get interesting for those competencies. This is a visual illustration of the assessment centers reports. Okay, guys? Okay. Now let me just show you an overview of the assessment process. So what we said, we look at the vision, mission, etc. of the values. Then we will identify, hey, which jobs will need to be assessed. Then I will invite candidates. Then what will I do? Then I will design the metrics. What are the kind of tests I will have? It can have an in-depth interview, maybe presentation, maybe ability test, etc. And then what will I do? A feedback system. So for an assessment center, typically I don't give a feedback report, but for a development center, I will be giving a feedback report along with coaching, counseling, stating where he has to improve. Okay, any clarifications here? Similarly, in a report, you have, again, I said apps these days. You can write your competency, okay? And then all the competencies here. These are the rating scales 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or the assessment criteria. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 will be meaningless if you don't know what 1 stands for, 2 stands for. That means behaviors have to be anchored here. Are you with me? That's very critical. If there is no behavior anchored here in your observing form, then how will you identify that he has shown for customer orientation 1 or 2. The descriptor will tell you is he at 1 or 2. Got it? Clear? Just give me a thumbs up, guys. Huh? Got it? Then when you observe, say, hey, he is at 4, this is at 4. Huh? One is this, when you say success profile for CRM, this is what I want. That this should be at 4 and this should be at 5 and this should be at only 3 because the role requires this profile. But when I assess him, he may be elsewhere. Got it? Then I will know exactly whether he fits into the successful profile or not. Are you with me, guys? This is what, for every position, you can write your success profile. And then when you evaluate people, then you can evaluate them according to where they are and is there a gap. And today what we do, we just put it into the system and it will come out with the gaps. Okay? Now, what is this?
We are trying to say that a person cannot be perfect, or we cannot have always a perfect 5 out of 5 on all the parameters.
No. No, Prashant, you got it wrong. That's what I was trying to ask you. If this is customer, say, for example, CRM profile. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, these are the list of competencies, and I want them to be here at 4 and at 5 and at 3 and at this. Okay.
Okay.
This is a required level for that particular.
This is the required or the desired level.
Threshold or
No, desired level.
Okay. So
For
why not
performing.
5?
Yeah. Now I want to know where is Prashant vis-a-vis this successful profile. Got it? Come again. That aha didn't convince me.
I mean, so this
Ma'am,
is.
I means you have benchmark for this profile, correct?
Okay, I can use that word. So this is the benchmark profile. So for CRM, this is what I have benchmarked with. This is what is required.
So
Yeah,
because
so
the
desire,
lower level, so he doesn't have to be problem resolution. He doesn't have to be 5. The desired level for his position is 3. So if it's
right,
he's good. He's perfect fit for that.
This is what Prashant called it as minimum level. I can also say minimum level, threshold level. That means I can't have somebody because my customer orientation is so high that it has to be at 4. I can't take a person who's at 1, 2, 3. Okay. I can take somebody who's higher.
Yeah, that was my question. Like, why are we not having 5 on all?
Absolutely. Right. My readiness for action, that means this is an organization where readiness for action is all the time very high. I can't have people at a lower levels. Got it? But one suggestion I want to give. Organizations, what happens, I might have the desired profile, but I may not get. So sometimes what happens in this also, I will say, hey, but if I'm required, is it trainable or not trainable? If there is something which is trainable, then I will say, okay, fine, I'll make a compromise because I may not get the talent. But if it is not trainable, like an empathy, it is not trainable. I have to have him at this 4 score. So, because otherwise the job cannot be performed. Or maybe I'm just taking fluke, another job where, he has to be all the time in readiness for action. But this guy is not at all readiness action. And for me, this is very important and I can't train that person in this. So I have to ensure that the person has this. Got it?
Yeah.
I for detail, for a payroll guy, very high it should be. That way. Okay. Now, this is how a calendar looks like on a day, on a day basis.
Can I just add a bit more here?
Sure.
So the success profile for CRM, what we are seeing here is the outcome of the competency mapping which we have done at this level, like CRM manager level, and that becomes our threshold or a benchmark.
Okay, you have put it much more easily because absolutely. This has come from the competency mapping. Yes, Prashant, you understood now?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm connecting it in the sense nothing is in isolation. You can't do assessment center without competency mapping. So I'm bringing this from the competency mapping. Got it?
Yeah.
A directory. Huh? Done. Thank you so much, Parul, for helping us to bridge that understanding of Prashant. Okay. Yeah.
My
How
pleasure, ma'am.
center look like? It will start with, morning, okay, orientation. Then you start off everything, where the persons have to go. So it looks like this. Let me just, yeah. So typically when SSOs have to be trained, I told you, they have to be trained. What is the objective of the exercise? Then what are those competency frameworks? Because I, as an assessor, I'm coming to assess. I'm an outsider. You have called me as a consultant. So I will have to know this, right? Why are you conducting? No, which group, audience, and competency frameworks? What is your evaluation grid? Those bars, etc. Then I have to know the assessment metrics design. Then all the construction of those exercises I have to know. All right. Then I have to know their validity, reliability, objectivity. Okay. And so that I'm able to then observe and capture evidence, because only out of evidence I'll be able to conclude and give a right decision. Otherwise, if there is no evidence, evidence is the link. Okay, guys?
Yes, ma'am.
So yes, definitely HC Center has a lot of benefit. Competency gap management, benchmarking, risk management, in the sense continuous flow of your talent pool, ensuring the right kind of competencies are there, and ensuring that what you get the right hires, and therefore risk is minimized. Okay, so with that we come to the end of the session. Any questions?